Good afternoon, James. This is Ryan with TrendLizard.com. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I got your email earlier today with the two stocks you wanted me to analyze. I'm going to take a look at them real quick and get these out to you because I'm leaving town tomorrow and won't have time for the rest of the week, so just didn't want to leave you hanging. We're going to take a look at M, obviously 3M, MMM, and then CrowdStrike, CRWD for you. Pretty sure we looked at CrowdStrike for you before. I don't believe I've analyzed M for you or anybody else. So let's get to it. It was incepted a long time ago. All our data does is go back to 1980. Obviously, it's a massive uptrend. A move like this is fairly daunting and terrifying to label just because there's so much to it, and there just seems like there's a lot of opportunities to get it wrong. So I take a more simplistic approach when I do it. I look for the big down moves and for the more obvious things. Like, for example, you get a pretty clear three-wave move to the downside here. This looks like the biggest pullback that's ever occurred for 3M. Off that, you have a very nice five-wave move and then another large pullback. So this is stuff that we can work with. But this is one of those instances where, generally speaking, we look at a logarithmic scale. You can see how the squares get smaller and smaller. That's why it's harder to see these numbers up here, because every move is a similar percentage size as opposed to a similar point size. I'm going to change this scale to a linear scale to see what it does for us. And it actually makes it a little bit cleaner for me. That big pullback that we saw here in 2008, 2009 is actually this move right here. You know, it kind of puts it on a different scale, but it really makes the current, or not the current, but this large pullback pop a little bit more, and it makes this five-wave move a little bit clearer. So this is the labeling that we have on a long-term time frame. A little five-wave move up here, a pullback that retraced about 61.8%, and then actually a very large pullback if we remember from the previous chart, and then off of there a nice five-wave advance, and then another large pullback. So this looks bullish. We know that trends play out in five waves in the direction of the trend. These five-wave moves are happening to the upside, obviously on a long-term time frame. 3M's trend is up. Now we have this large pullback that put in a low in 2020 and has since jumped higher, has retraced more than 61.8% of this pullback. Again, we can consider this a counter trend move and consider the overall trend to still be up. That is what the objective analysis of the long-term time frame yields. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. Here's a look at that pullback here off the 2018 high. It's a counter trend move. Again, it's retraced more than 61.8%, or it's been retraced by more than 61.8% by the current recovery. Plus, it's just littered with three-wave moves as I have it labeled here. I believe it's an ABC x ABC, so like a double correction. And I believe it put in a low in 2020, and this is the start of a new trendy up move. And this is why you asked me to analyze it. I'm sure just the look of this move here, it's very difficult to label. We're going to take a close look at to try to figure out where we are in this advance. It's not easy. I'll show you exactly why. But the major thing to take away on this time frame is 3M has to stay above 145 at all times to remain bullish on the larger time frames. If it moves below 145 at any point, this big counter trend move is not yet over. You'd have to call this some large B wave and consider it part of a larger correction. We don't expect that to happen, but nevertheless, that's probably the most important point on the chart. Excuse me, most important level on the chart. So let's go ahead and zoom in on this recovery off of the 2020 low. So this is definitely the trick, and I have this line here that I'll move around. At every high, if you look to the right, there's all these overlaps. Everything keeps overlapping. If you move it up to this next high, you get these overlaps. Every single pullback gives you overlaps. Every single high has overlaps. That makes it tricky to label. That makes it difficult to label. But when you look at the details of every up move, it looks like a five-wave move. These all look like five-wave moves, and every pullback is a clear three-wave move. So we know that 3M has the intention of being trendy to the upside, but it's really hard to label overall. So here's what I came up with, and here's the labeling that I think works out pretty well. This is it. So it looks like a leading diagonal for wave 1. This is the largest pullback that's happened since 2020. I'm calling that a wave 2, which fits well. And then you have the first and second wave, and you're in a third wave here, in the third wave of a third wave of a third wave. This looks like a pretty bullish setup. I mean, granted, again, it's not the cleanest thing we've ever seen, but this labeling fits, and it makes the most sense with all that overlap that occurred early on in the move. It makes sense of the trendy up moves, the counter trend pullbacks, all that stuff. What that boils down to, 3M needs to stay above 184 to stay bullish and make it so that this labeling still works. This, again, is the labeling I think that's playing out. And so I think you can use 184 as a stop level. If it moves below 184, you're getting overlap with this high, and you're just getting a much more confused, rough picture. So if you have a short-term time frame on 3M, I would use 184 as the stop level. If it moves below that, I wouldn't be interested in it anymore. I'd want to see a little bit more development of this pattern. But as long as it stays above 184, it has a ton of potential to the upside, and we're going to expect it to continue higher from there. So there is 3M. Let's move on now to CrowdStrike. So we looked at this for you before, and basically all it took was a real quick update, because I think our analysis held true to what has taken place since then. So pretty proud of that. Love it when that happens. We try to make that happen every time. So here is what we came up with last time. We had an ABC pullback to start, and then it's been in this large 5-wave advance to the upside. Now, I know I'm going to get comments. This always happens. They say, hey, look how short the third wave is relative to wave 1. That's not the case. Again, this is a logarithmic scale. So even though this looks shorter, it's actually not shorter than this move. And I'll show you as we change the frame to a linear scale. Here's wave 1. Here's wave 3. Wave 3 is actually barely bigger than wave 1, despite the way it looks here. Nevertheless, either way, we come up with the same thing. First, second, third, we had a big fourth wave pullback in 2021, and now it's turned up to the upside again. I think a low is into wave 4. It's really hard to be certain, but we're confident that this is a counter trend move, confident that CrowdStrike is going to continue moving higher overall as it gives us the formation of a larger 5-wave advance. Now, whenever we're in a trend, we know that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the formation of 5-wave moves before that trend completes and we get a move in the other direction. So in this case, once we get a 5th wave to new highs, and these moves here, they spanned about 120 points. So if you put that same thing off of the 170 low, that would put you at around 290, somewhere around there. Once we get the completion of this 5-wave move, then you get the larger correction. But for now, this guy looks bullish, and higher prices have to be expected. So we're going to drive in a little bit and take a closer look at more recent action. And this is that move off the 2020 low. This is why we label it as we have. We have a second wave pullback here into November's low. And I think I analyzed it for you right around the start of the year. We got the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th wave of wave 3. And then wave 3 gave us that larger pullback here. And there's a couple different ways we can label it. We'll take a look at this action right here. One possibility is that pullback is completed. So this 4th wave pullback here that zooms in on that, because you can give it an A, B, C labeling, and then here you have the resumption of the uptrend. The other way that we could possibly label it is to say wave A completed in March, there's an A, B, and C for wave B, and we're still going to get a C wave down. The only level that I can really come up with to differentiate between the two is 190. If it moves below 190, which isn't terribly close, you know that a larger pullback is happening. I mean, just judging on the way this market has played out, things have not opted to give us larger pullbacks in most situations. In most situations, the stock or the index or whatever else has opted to continue straight higher. And I think that's how you have to play this market until it proves otherwise. Now, it's not super easy to label this up move in April. Again, there's quite a bit of overlap here. Kind of the cop-out move is to say it might be some type of leading diagonal, because that's what we always do when it doesn't pop off the chart super clearly. But it could be. What I do know is that this pullback that we see here is a very clear 3-wave move. It looks like the largest pullback that's happened off of the late March low. It looks like a 1 and a 2. So I'd want to see CrowdStrike continue pretty firmly higher from here just to confirm this labeling. But I think the most important thing is 190. As long as CRWD stays above 190 from here, you can be bullish on it. And if it moves below 190, you're just going to know that we're getting a larger 4th wave pullback before the uptrend resumes. Either way, we're bullish on Crowd. More just a matter of whether the 2021 pullback has completed, and it'll stay above 190 at all times if it has. So, James, I hope that provides some insight into it. For all of you folks who are not James that are watching this video, please come visit us at TrendLizard.com. We'll break down whatever you want. Just sign up for the pro level service, and this is what we do all day long. So have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you all very soon. Take care.